Everyone, welcome to the first Loft Podcast. My name is Cisco,
My name's Sam.
and today we're recording our first ever podcast. We're excited, slightly nervous because we've never done this before, so bear with us. And so Sam, how do we get here?
So I guess it started originally back when I was 18, I think, or a bit younger, maybe 16 years old, and my dad sort of got me into DJing. I always had sort of a passion for music. He'd always have decks at home, and I'd always try and play, and it sort of got inspired to want to sort of play in a club, and then from there sort of learned how to play on the decks, playing hip-hop R&B. That was where I started. That's how my dad taught me. And then slowly but surely developed a love for house music. That was probably about 3 or 4 years later. I remember just listening or picking up on a tune on YouTube from Max Chapman, Acid. And when I heard that track, I was like, this is the sort of music I want to play. So anyway, that's where it originally started. And then I guess where we are now, sort of developed, started playing house music, ended up doing my own events through a brand called Soko, which you'll remember. Great experience. We did some really good events. We also did some not so very good events, but it's all part of the learning experience. Definitely learned a lot. And then a couple years later, we had sort of been speaking. You'd obviously started DJing as well, and then came together and started doing events. So what about you? Where did it start for you?
Yeah, same. For me, obviously growing up in Madeira, a lot of my family were into music, singing, playing instruments. I was horrible at instruments, never really gone with it, but I loved music. I just enjoyed the way it made me feel. And just like everyone else, music has always been a big part of my life. I remember being my first actual experience DJing was I was at Dom Travis's house, and he had a small controller. I think it's SB50s or something like that. I don't even know, they were tiny. And I just said, can I have a bash? And from the minute I touched them, I literally was obsessed.
Sold.
Sold.
15 grand later.
So basically asked to borrow it, then I bought it off him, then slowly but surely started to upgrade, got a bigger controller. And then you approached me and said, do you want to play at my next event, which was Soko, Golden Boy, never forget. And it was my first ever time playing out, so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and buy CDJs. I never looked back. So after that, after playing that first time out, I was just hooked. I loved the way it made me feel. I loved the way that I felt when I was playing tunes to someone else and I could see the reaction. That was like the most fulfilling experience. And then I was just like, this is what I want to do. So from there, I just gradually started progressing into that. Then came around to getting into production, and then I wanted to have a space where I could focus and be like, this is my creative time. So that's how the studio came about. And then once the studio was about, obviously, me, you, and Hugo had a little chat up here, which we set the wheels on motion with the Loft roughly a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So starting the Loft, what are some of the things that you've learned about yourself and about events that you really thought, wow, never really thought about it like that?
Yeah, so obviously I've had a bit of experience doing it myself. So one thing I definitely realised is, especially when you're in the event space, I think people don't see what goes on behind the scenes and stuff like that, but there's a lot of pressure on you to try and put on a good event. And when you're sort of by yourself, which I was originally, you kind of get stuck in your ways, but also you kind of get fixed on what you think is a good idea. And sometimes it might not be the best idea. So I think definitely when you're sat with people and you can bounce ideas off, when it's like more than one of you, then you can sort of both come together and say, no, this wouldn't work, or, you know, this would work, and you all come together for like a common purpose to make sure like an event is good. So I made a lot of mistakes because I was just purely by myself. And I guess also I was new, so it was all very new to me. And you know the amount of stuff that goes into putting on an event. There's a lot. So I think coming together with the Loft, I think I've definitely learned that doing it with people is easier. You make better situations, you make better events because you've all got certain ideas that you can come together and then all agree on. But in terms of the events, I guess, which have taken place, I didn't really expect it to be as big as it was, and I'll be completely honest there. I thought we could definitely pull off some good events, but I think the way that we did it, I thought there was a bit of a risk there. You know, we're not bringing over big international artists. We're focusing on local community. So there's definitely a risk that, you know, people don't see the value in the event. So I think I was really pleased to see how that's taken off, and I think that's at the core of everything we do. And, you know, people know that the Loft isn't just about bringing over international artists, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that, but we built a really good foundation. So my favourite event, though, I've got to say, is probably, it's got to be the Splash, by far. And the reason for that is I always, when I started getting into house music, that was like one of my bucket list items, to play like a headline time at the Splash. And I'd never had a chance to play like a 12 to 1 set or like a 1 to 2 set at the Splash. So for me, that was like a bucket list item to tick off. And also the event, obviously there was a couple hiccups with the weather, but in general, to sell out the Splash with just locals, that was crazy. And I don't think it was until like a week later that you sit down and you realise, shit, we actually did something pretty sick there. So yeah, I think that's probably my best event and sort of experience with events. What about you?
Yeah, same. Do you know, when you're looking at other promoters and you see it from the side of a customer, normally you walk into an event, you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. But when you set up your own event and you actually take into account how much work goes into the promotion, the setting up, the hiring, the networking, the community, I think that was like, wow, this is amazing. When you walk into, like, I have a different appreciation to festivals, local events and everything else now because of being in the background. And I think this is a really good opportunity for people to see what we see and for people to understand how an event is set up and to have a different level of appreciation, because without the people who supported us in creating the event, we wouldn't be able to do it. Not just everyone that bought a ticket, but everyone else who helped us set up, all the DJs and the foundation that we've created. I think that's been really good. And I think as well, for me, making friends in Jersey sometimes can be quite challenging. And through the Loft, I've met some really good people who I now call friends that I didn't have a year ago. And I think that's been really good, not just like for me, but all the other local DJs who have now met each other and who are now building their own friendships, and like producers coming through and all that sense of community that we are hoping to obviously expand on. I think that's been a really good experience for me as well. My favorite event, it's a toss between New Year's and the Splash. New Year's because it was another sellout in terms of like the whole club, the production that went into that, it was probably one of my favorite sets that I played, which was really good. The energy was on point. Yeah, I think
New Year's was, from like logistically, it went almost perfect, which for an event is quite difficult. Like for the Splash one, people that were there early may have seen, but like if you didn't arrive till later, you wouldn't have seen the big like problems that we were having. We basically set up all the decks outside, set up like a big marquee for the decks, nice little stage. It was perfect for like an outdoor terrace vibe. But then, was it like the strongest wind that day in like the month? And literally everything was blowing. Decks like were almost toppling on the tables. Marquee was flying. So we were like, shit, what we got to do? So, you know, in those sort of moments, like high stress moments, you've got to kind of make decisions to what you can do. And I think a lot of people didn't realize, but because they didn't arrive later, but if you were there, it was a huge amount of stress. And then on the night, I guess we were trying to logistically find out how we could get people into the club from like the bar. end up opening the club a little bit later because everyone was waiting in the bar and it was like so busy. So I think logistically, New Year's, perfect, almost perfect. I mean, you're always going to have slight hiccups, but it was pretty much almost perfect as opposed to the Splash. But yeah, for me, that was just like a bucket list item. So, but yeah, I agree. I agree. The vibe in Rojo was insane. Like everyone was on good form, no trouble. Everyone was there to have a good time, and that's kind of what you want to see at events.
Yeah, 100% as well. And I think it's also about creating the culture where you're going to an event and everyone is respecting each other. You're not having, at least like, I hope it never really happens in the future, or at least it hasn't happened now, where people go and there's fights or anything like that. Like, we don't promote that. We don't want that to happen in our events. And I think it's good that we are creating a sense of community and everyone is like bouncing off each other. It's not about us, it's about everyone else who is coming to the events, and we want to create a safe space that you can come and express yourself and actually listen to new sounds, because for a long time Jersey has been dominated by drum and bass, which is amazing. They've done a great job, and shout out to Vanguard, you guys did an amazing job.
Shout out to Lyle as well.
Big ones. So everyone who has come before us, they've done such an amazing job, and I'm excited to be able to set our mark and be able to show different kinds of music, different styles that people will enjoy and explore, because it's not, I at certain points in my life have fell into the trap of being like, oh, I only like this kind of music, where now as I've got older and matured and been able to go to bigger events, like Tomorrowland, for example, going there and seeing all the different types of music that they promote. I think that was really inspiring for me to come back to Jersey and be like, do you know what? We can do that on a smaller scale and really explore different avenues, different genres. And I think Jersey right now is starting to really like boom with the culture that we're trying to obviously promote.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, and nothing against drum and bass, because I actually like drum and bass.
Same.
You know, there's, like Cisco said, you got to kind of be open to all types of music. I mean, maybe you just like a particular music, that's fine. But like, I've been to a lot of D&B events in the past. Obviously, like hip hop, like my house, and now more recently my techno. So yeah, I definitely think there's a much more bigger variety now of music in Jersey. You know, you've got the likes of obviously Tremor, techno, Oscillate, obviously doing, you know, electro, which is very new, but starting to pick up some popularity, as well as techno. So I think it's going in the right direction. I think there's definitely more space for different types of music, and I feel like potentially people are now more open than they were. And I think there's always been like a separation of house music fans and drum and bass fans, and I think like techno and electro kind of bridges the gap between the two, which is why I think we're getting quite a different crowd at our event than maybe some people are used to. You know, we're getting a lot of people that maybe, you know, we've had some people come up to us who are like big drum and bass fans. I'm like, yo, that was sick. Like, I had someone come up to me at the Splash, message me on Instagram, like, I don't normally go to techno events, but that was pretty sick. So like, that's really good to see, like people open to that sort of music. So that really excites me.
That actually drives me, you know. That makes me like, wow, that's amazing to actually influence someone to be like open-minded to trying something new. I think that's what drives me to be like, wow, that was really cool. I really like, yeah, that really, really excites me.
Yeah, me too. So in terms of like events, I want to ask you, like, what's been your favorite event you've been to in Jersey? Like, what's one that stands out to you as in terms of like production or lighting or music? What's one of those that stand out to you?
For me, I got two, and I they're different in their own ways, and it's what makes them special. My first one, I'd only just turned maybe 18, 19, and it was Blackout. Blackout, I thought was like, wow, this is insane. I remember walking in and it was just like massive. The lights, everything, the sound system sounded so good. And to speak to the organisers and actually find out the history behind it and how hard it was to set it up, I was like mind blown. Yeah. And my second one, as a festival, I would say Out There. For me, Out There has been one of my favourite festivals. I just like the setup. I like the way, I don't know, I think I've been pretty much every year, and every year I've enjoyed it and I've had a really good time, and it's been one of my favorite ones. I would say I don't know why, but it just works. The way it's set up, it just works. I would say those two are probably my big events, and then yeah, just
Yeah.
them two really. I think. Yeah. What about you?
Um, yeah, I'll touch on that. But just touching back on the point you said, we caught up with one of the guys at Organisers, Blackout, and you don't realize how much goes into the setup. He basically told us, that had to happen within 24 hours. Set up and takedown. So they pretty much set up at 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening next day. Everything's done, ready for the event at 10, and then at 4 a.m. they're packing up. Like, you can think how logistically how difficult that is to pull off an event like that. So again, going back to appreciation for events and what goes into it, like that's by far probably one of my favorite events. I think the space, like everything was just unbelievable about it. I loved it. And also I got an opportunity to play on the main stage, which was absolutely sick. And shout out to Lyle for that, for obviously giving me the opportunity. But yeah, I think by far that was probably my favorite event on a bigger scale. Trying to think what else. I think I've got to say that. I think that's probably going to be my number one.
Yeah, and it's a shame because a lot of our audience are younger than us, so they probably won't know what we're talking about, and they wouldn't have experienced that. And that's so crazy to think as well, isn't it? How events that have happened in Jersey that were so amazing, and a lot of people will not get to experience that. And that's why I really am excited about creating the podcast and just sharing light on how good Jersey really is in terms of not just community, but events and the opportunity that is there to actually invest in the local community and really start pushing the locals as well. Like, not to say, so this year obviously we got planned to bring acts over, but we wanted to get the foundation strong first. And the foundation has always been the locals. Anywhere you go in around the world, whether there's a headliner or a big artist coming through to play at any event, the locals are the ones that start the night. And it's important to grow that foundation to then, when we bring a big act, not to make the big act like a headliner, but part of the community as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of good talent here as well.
Yeah.
Like, and the problem is with Jersey, I think something which has been really good with the mixers and the studio is that we've got a lot of people up that we would have never known before. And I think there's a lot of good DJs out there. They just need to get themselves out there. So for anyone out there who is a DJ, don't be afraid to come up, do a mix if you feel like you're good enough, because it's all about who you know, and it's all about who knows you in Jersey. I was quite fortunate with the fact that my dad was obviously a DJ, so I knew quite a lot of the club owners and events managers, so I was able to get in quite easily that way. But for some people, new in Jersey or young, only ever played in their bedroom, people don't really know about them. And it's nothing against them. They could be sick at mixing. Like, we've seen some people come up here that we've never even heard of before, and we're like, shit, you've got some really nice tunes, or your mixing's really good. And then through that, we've given them an opportunity to play at the event. So I think don't be afraid, don't be scared to come up and just show your face. It's open doors here. We're as open minded as you can be, and we'd happily accommodate for you. So, but yeah, touching back on the artists, I think. There's a couple of really good people that I can think of just off my head. I won't say names, but like that we've now got into events and like given either them their first events to play out, which is sick, and that's like it's really touching for me to be able to give someone the opportunity to do that. And also shout out to those people who actually having the confidence to come and do it, because it's not an easy thing, especially when you've only been mixing in your bedroom.
Yeah, definitely. And when the camera's on for the first time, it's a bit weird. I will say as well though, don't come up to just like do the video and just be like, oh, look at me, I'm a DJ. Like, don't do it for the wrong reasons. Do it because you love it and because it's something that you want to do. And also as well, respect the art and like focus on your skills and developing that. Don't just do it because you want to be on the camera. Do it because like you love and you have a passion for it. Because one of the things that we've seen a lot of people come up, and there's been one or two that have come up and they weren't ready. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like value yourself more and appreciate yourself more. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Be like, do you know what? I really want to learn. And with the Loft Studio, we're here to support you in that journey, in getting you from a bedroom DJ to playing it at a nightclub, potentially at a festival. So that's just for some of you who are wanting to get into it and not quite sure how to do it as well.
Yeah. And also, I think going back to that point, like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, I like any DJ I think out there who's been where you are will happily help you and give you advice in terms of how to mix, or some advice in terms of like how to use controllers. Because when you kind of grow up, like for me, I was quite lucky because I learned on CDJs. Some people don't get the opportunity to do that. Some people have to learn on controllers, but like the basis of, I think, DJing is beat matching and learning to mix by ear, And when I first started, my dad literally gave me 2 tracks. It was like, I remember it was 100 BPM. It was like a DJ Snake track. I remember it. It's literally just a beat, no vocals, just a beat. And for like 2 weeks straight, he literally just said, right, I want you to mix these 2 songs and just make it sound like one song. That's what he said to me. That's all he said. So that was the basis of everything. But for like people, I guess, coming up, DJing like on controllers, a lot of these controllers nowadays are all laptop based and they're all very visual. So you don't really, unless someone tells you like to learn by ear, a lot of people learn by screen.
Yeah. And that's the point I was trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's nothing against those people, because they may not have been like given advice from someone who said like mix this way or like learn this way. Because one thing I find is in some clubs you play in, the equipment isn't like the top level, and you're not going to have an opportunity sometimes even to loop tracks or to see waveforms. So what do you do when you're in that sort of situation? Like, you're kind of like a rabbit in the headlights. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you learn the basis of DJing, one, I think it makes you appreciate it, because to learn to beat match by ear, it isn't like the easiest. To learn to beat match by screen is quite easy. You literally just move the deck.
Well, you think it's easy, but actually a lot of the time doesn't sound right.
Yeah, a lot of the time, sometimes the waveforms don't match. But, it makes you appreciate like the fundamentals of DJing, which I think are so important. So, anyone out there who needs advice, feel free to message anyone. They'll be happy to help. But also, I think if you can really learn the foundations well, it really shows in your mixing.
Yeah.
Like, you can really tell a person who's put the time into like learning how to beat match by ear, and learning sequences of songs, learning like how long, counting 4, counting 8s, counting 32s, stuff like that. So if you can learn the foundations really well, you'll have no problems playing no matter where you are. So I think that's really, really important when it comes to DJing.
I agree. And that's it's not a criticism. It's just you're probably not aware of it. But obviously seeing a lot of young and up and coming DJs mixing or trying to mix, and I'm watching them and they're looking at the screen, and it's like sometimes I don't want to say anything because I don't want to upset someone, but equally it's a double sword, because I want to, when I say like, do you want me to show you a different way, or like, do you want me to help you? Like, it's about showing them like this is the right way to do it. And I guess my intention doing that is to be like, I see you better than you are right now, and I want you to be that better.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm coming from? So that's something for obviously to do with the Loft Studios, and check it out on Instagram if you want some lessons, or if you want to practice on CDJs, we offer that as well. And also, I guess moving forward as well, there's amazing talent in Jersey regarding producers. There's at least 2 or 3 people in Jersey right now who've got some amazing stuff in their locker. I can think of one right now who shared on the Loft crew, and his stuff, I think he's ready to release. Do you know who
I know you're talking about.
I think I hope he knows who I'm talking about. But I just think he can do everything from play the piano to producing to mixing, and his energy is on point, and I just think he's got it all. He's so good.
Yeah, you can really tell in his production.
He's insane.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree. So I guess moving on in terms of what we got planned for the year. I mean, do you want to touch on what we got planned?
So there's a few things. One of the things I want to address quickly is the Loft box that we had to cancel. So due to the previous event that we did, we had a few technical issues with the speakers being too overpowered for the actual venue, which was giving it a power cut. So we had to. It was again really stressful, but a good learning curve, because if that didn't happen, we wouldn't know for next time. So that was a good learning curve. However, we've decided not to do it at that venue, and we are pretty much solidified a new date to change it to a different venue. So that will be coming out soon. But things that we're planning this year: another Splash event. We'll confirm dates soon. 1 or 2 festivals. The second one we're still talking. One is definitely, which is Crafty J's. So we're hosting a tent there, pretty much with Oscillate. So we're doing the Saturday, they're doing the Sunday, and we're also supporting John in creating that, which is amazing as well. Good experience for us.
And that's going to be at People's Park, by the way. So it's an outdoor festival, which is going to be quite exciting. So we'll essentially host like a dance tent.
Correct. And there's a lot planned, and we're going to get John and other DJs up, so we'll be able to share a lot more information in depth as well, which is a really good opportunity to have this platform. And we also got another Rogers event towards the end of the year, and we're looking to bring some new acts over, some people that we're excited.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to share some of the names that we're looking at trying to get.
Let's keep it quiet.
Fair enough. We'll keep it quiet. When we have more information, we'll let you guys know, obviously. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I'm just really glad we're doing this. You know, I think it's a really good opportunity, one, to get DJs up and really share their stories, how they start DJing, really start to understand where the passion in the music comes from. I think it's going to be a really good space to get promoters up, you know, not just us. You know, we want to get people that are already doing events and give you an insight into terms of what goes into, you know, events, festivals and stuff like that. So that's going to be really exciting. And then generally anyone else who's sort of in the music scene, you know, producers and stuff like that. And like the time that goes into producing, can't wait to talk about that on an episode and stuff like that, because it's you know, if you know about the amount of time Cisco spends up here, you would be surprised. There's a lot of time that goes into that. So I'm just really excited to use this as a platform for people in Jersey, and then in the future people outside of Jersey to really understand you know, what we're all about, you know, what goes into the music scene, and just really start to understand, you know, everything really, you know. And I think hopefully by doing this, one, we're going to create a really strong community and a good foundation of people that like underground music, and also to give people an appreciation in terms of everything that goes on behind the scenes, you know. What about you? Anything you want to catch on or say?
Literally exactly connected to every single word you've said. I'm excited. I'm actually really excited because I feel Jersey nightlife is starting to decline a little bit. Obviously, it's early in the year and everything else, and then with COVID, everything that happened, I just hope that we can actually make a difference and support up-and-coming artists and really give them a platform to grow.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just touching back on that, if there's any ideas that people have or want to share about anything event-wise, you know, we've obviously been quite active on the stories, asking people what they want to see. But if anyone has any ideas that they want to share with us or whatever, you know, feel free. It's an open book. We take on feedback, we take on suggestions. We're always looking to improve and, you know, do something different.
Yeah. So I guess this concludes the first episode. We're gonna try and keep to 30 minutes. So thank you guys. My name is Cisco,
My name's Sam.
and this has been the Loft Podcast. So catch you on the next episode.